What is going on, YouTube people? New York Cards and Comics here for another edition of the weekly sports card market update. Big week this week. It is Fanatics Fest. I think, I did the video on it and then kind of had a nice long form discussion on it on the live stream, the pop-up live stream on Friday night. I think Fanatics Fest is going to be a good event and good show for attendees with some hiccups. If I was a dealer setting up, I would be slightly concerned. I don't think the attendance is going to be anywhere near like national levels. I could be wrong, but just the vibe that I'm getting with ticket sales and stuff like that, I don't think this is going to be, 100,000 people through the door their first time out. A lot of different reasons for that, but the show could still be a good time, could still be a success as an attendee if they could pull things off right. But if I was paying $3,000 for a table and the expenses of New York City and all that stuff to set up, are the buyers going to be there to justify that? And, doesn't matter. If you're a dealer setting up at this show, is the getting in the good graces of Fanatics, building that relationship, building, basically marketing to a different audience that's attending Fanatics Fest, worth it in the long run, even if you break even or take a small loss on the actual weekend when you factor in all the varying different expenses that's going to go into the show. I'm not a dealer. I don't set up, so I don't know the answer to that question. I know for myself, attending this show, attending primarily as a content creator. I like I said a couple days ago, I don't know that I would attend this if I wasn't making content. It's not going to be profitable for me, but by a long shot. But I am curious to take this thing in firsthand and form my own opinion of it and see what it's all about. And there is a value to that is not financial. So we'll have to see how that shakes out for dealers, attendees, everyone alike. We'll see how the exclusives go and all that stuff. Like I said in the initial video I did, I feel like they are still figuring this thing out on the fly. After I posted that video on Friday afternoon, another email came out changing the show time on Friday, announcing another exclusive with exactly 1 week to go to the event. So I just still think that there is a lot of stuff that is still getting figured out for this thing at the last minute. First one out of the gate, I'm going to cut them some slack on some of this stuff, but we'll see how things go once things get up and running. But back half of this week will be loaded up with content for Fanatics Fest. I should note here, weekly sports card market update next week will probably most likely not be up on Sunday. I don't know if I will skip the week or not. I'm still determining whether I'm going to go to the show on Sunday or just start heading home on Sunday. So do kind of keep that in mind that weekly sports card market update might be taking another week off next week. If you entered the Zion case giveaway from last week's video, I will draw for that at the end of this week's video. So tune in to the end of this week's video. We'll run the randomizer for that. If you don't care about it, then you can go ahead and skip over it. Before we get too deep, shout out to channel partner COMC, sponsor of the weekly sports card market update. I am still selling cards out of my recent submission. It's not fully uploaded yet. That's typically the way COMC works. You send cards in and they kind of trickle them into your account. They don't get uploaded all at once, which if you're running a smaller account balance is nice because it gives you an opportunity to kind of sell things off as they get uploaded to build up that balance to pay for future uploads that might even be on the same submission. They are also currently running 30% off select and elite football submissions. So if you have some football you need to get into them last minute, you can get 30% off. And they are running a big football auction event right before the season starts, August 26th to September 1st. So if you're not using COMC to buy or to sell, go check it out. Do keep in mind, if you see a card on eBay listed by COMC as the seller, a lot of times you can get it cheaper by buying it directly on COMC and foregoing eBay. Let's go ahead and pop into some news and then look at some charts and graphs. More thefts. This one happened at the National in Cleveland. No, it was not me. $275,000 in cash stolen from a car at the National. Apparently, a dealer was loading up, thought he locked his car, but cash, 2 iPads, and the money that were stored inside of a briefcase were stolen. Doesn't sound like any cards were involved. They do actually mention the bag had an AirTag. Police recovered it on IX Center properly shortly thereafter, but the cash that had been stored inside was gone. So if you know anyone that drives a blue Honda Odyssey, there is contact information here. Once again, got to keep an eye on your stuff. It sounds like there were a couple of thefts at the National, nothing on the near the level of the recent Dallas theft, which I continue to hear absolutely nothing on. Panini release schedule, some updates. I don't really care about most of these, but there is one product on here which did not have its date changed, but I am just very curious to see how they are going to market this. And that is 2023 National Treasures Football. Comes out Wednesday, September 4th. Their premier high-end product, missing a ton of autos because they do not have the rights for it. You know, how do they handle CJ Stroud in this? Are we just going to get some sick fake patch cards? Are they going to try to get game used? I don't know. We will have to see what that looks like, but I'm fascinated to see how they handle that. It's also kind of comical. You look at the basketball schedule. This goes out to the end of October. October 30th. That's Halloween, basically. And we are still cranking out 2023 product. And there's still a lot of sets to go on this list. And the 2024 season is going to be starting. And they're dipping way into it. You see the same thing with football. Now, football, they're a little bit further along, I believe. But we are starting to see some 2024 product sneak out as well. Now, 2024 basketball is not a great class. So it'll be interesting to see how breakers handle 2024 basketball, as the rookie class is meh, at least as of right now. That could always change, but it does not have a lot of hype around it. So how are Prism basketball boxes going to go when there's not a lot of hype around the rookie class itself? I am recording this prior to USA France. It actually tips off very, very quickly here. And I wanted to get this video knocked out before that and the Browns preseason game came on. But I did want to note, this runs through this evening, Sunday evening. And I wouldn't be surprised if they have some more of these depending on what happens in today's game. But Topps is doing Topps Now Olympic cards. The Steph Curry one looks pretty good. Good image. The key thing here, though, is there are randomly inserted autos. Pretty nice looking card there. Gold foil with, it looks like, the on-card auto, potentially. Those are mock-ups. This is the variation with a hollow foil. Once again, great image that they used for that one. And then they have a limited edition with the USA flag in the background, with the American flag in the background. So I would not be shocked if they end up winning the gold if there are more instant cards like this. Smart way to do this. This is a very smart way to do unlicensed, or, you know, not in professional NBA uniforms. If they were smart, and it probably would have been too late because of the production cycle, I wonder if they almost would have been better off waiting a little bit on Topps Chrome basketball and do some sort of insert, Team USA insert set where they could have snuck in images of them in their Olympic uniforms in the mainline Topps Chrome rather than have the pajama party. So we'll see how that comes out, but we'll see if we get some interesting Topps Now cards. I would be interested in a LeBron one if they had something like that. A lot of Olympics cards have been performing extremely well. I know they put out that set. It seems very popular with people. I know Simone stuff is selling very, very well on the secondary market. And speaking of the secondary market, we're going to switch on over to Market Movers. Link in the description down below. If you want to play with your own charts and graphs, you can get a free trial and a discount on your monthly subscription for life. if you use the link and or the coupon code down below. We're going to start off with Wax. Optic. Remember all the hullabaloo about Optic football and the downtowns and all that nonsense? Well, box prices unaffected. Hobby boxes sitting at about $800 and some, which is where they've been basically the entire time. And first off the line boxes has caused them to continue to jump. They are now up to $2,000. When last we looked, these were going for about 16, 17, 1800-ish. They're now up to $2,000 as the potential for maybe getting a hot box case, whatever, is still out there. Now, things have seemed to settle down a little bit on this. I have not seen a ton of reports on people getting completely smoked, like ripping cases of hobby and completely missing. I've seen a few here and there, but it hasn't been widespread. But if you're all seeing or hearing different, I don't buy into a lot of breaks. I don't watch a lot of breaks. But if you're seeing and hearing different things, feel free to fire away in the comments down below. The single prices on downtowns, oops, wrong slide. There we go. Single prices on downtowns have not been affected at all. Stroud Raw going for about 2.5K. PSA 10 going for about 5K, just under 5K. And you can see the Stroud has actually been very stable. Optic stuff started hitting way back in May. That's how long it's been since retail started hitting the shelf. And this has basically been around a $2,500-ish card right off the get. And even the PSA 10 has been about 5K to high 4s-ish since they started coming back from grading. So not a ton of impact on the single prices at all. Now it'll take some time till we truly see exactly were these printed to the moon or not, as more and more Optic gets ripped. And then we're going to run into, whatever actually happens in season to derail these things. So still a lot of time, but interesting that these have held pretty firm. That's typically not what you see out of a new release. But part of that could be something we've talked about a lot lately, because this continues to happen where the retail comes out so early. The supply is so limited that it keeps the price inflated. And then when hobby hits, it's still slowly kind of trickling out, and the market's almost able to absorb it. You don't see that big crash. And also it helps that downtowns are a little bit rarer than like Optic Hollows and Silver Prisms and stuff like that. Continuing on with football. I was just kind of curious to see who the movers and shakers have been in the, not necessarily quarterbacks, because there's some non-quarterbacks on here. Mostly this is quarterbacks. But just the hot young players. Who's the people hitting some steam for this upcoming season? These are over the last 90 days. So this takes us back to the middle of spring, right after the NFL draft. And the names, they shouldn't be that surprising. I was more curious about the increases. Anthony Richardson, these are all Silver Prism PSA 10s, up about 20%. A lot of that has been, you can kind of see a lot of this has been in the last few months here, or last month basically. From the beginning of July for both Richardson and Stroud. But AR-15 up about 20%, just under $500. CJ Stroud still sitting at about 1,000. That's also a 22% increase over the last 90 days. He is flirting with punching through 1,000. I saw he had a pretty good preseason game, though. It was like one series. But that's that time of year. We're going to start seeing random players pop off. If some random wide receiver, running back, whatever, has a big preseason game, you're probably going to see prices move just because people are jonesing to pull the trigger on something. They're just looking for a reason, basically. Stroud seems to not want to bust through that $1,000 mark, at least in a meaningful way. We'll see if that changes here over the short term. I know, people talked about pricing at the National. I saw that card stickered in dealers' cases at least a half a dozen times at the National, all $4,000, which is a very fair sticker price in a dealer case. Maybe you could probably get it for $950, maybe $925 if you really want to own the card. Jamar Chase, another one that's actually seen quite a decent increase this offseason, up 57% on his Silver PSA 10. Justin Fields, there has been rumors. A lot of his steam has been just very recently. A lot of camp reports about him potentially replacing Russell Wilson already. Maybe him challenging him more for the starter than what was initially thought. And that has caused him to jump up a little bit. And then Bryce Young, just once again, the young quarterbacks getting love, up 25% as well as we creep towards the NFL season. We are basically here now. Week 1 of the preseason. All my fantasy drafts are scheduled, which is a blessing and a curse. All my fantasy drafts fall on or around the Shipshawana show. And I am in old school leagues that draft in person, where we all get together, bring a cooler, everyone brings a different food dish, and then huddle down in a garage or a basement for a Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, and draft our football teams with a big board at the front of the room that everyone walks up and puts their sticker on, the whole 9 yards. So I will not be attending, unfortunately, the Shipshawana Labor Day show. It is just not in the cards with the football drafts going on, unfortunately. I even contemplated driving out there just for Sunday morning, just on show day, and then turning around and coming back, but it just wasn't going to work out with the timing. But that show is rapidly approaching. If you were in that neck of the woods and you were looking for a show to attend, that one's coming up in under a month now. Transitioning over to baseball, something we've been keeping our eye on, the Trout 2011 update with his recent slew of injuries. And the interesting thing here is this card has completely reset. It is now sitting at $800. That's what it sold for in March of 2019. $763 back in March 2019. Then you saw it slowly creep up as the season started, got to the $900 mark. So pre-pandemic, all the gains, all the pandemic gains, everything, this card has completely flipped the script. Crazy to see how high this thing got in 2021 at the peak. And I'm not even going to look at like the absolute crazy time of February 2021. Even if you just go to March of 2021, going for almost 5K, 4.7, 4.6, 4.7, 5.09, basically 5.1. Ouch, man. Sometimes you look back at these like really long form charts and you forget exactly how wild and crazy some of this stuff got in the absolute peak of the market. But here we are. Trout has now fully reset to 2019 prices and probably going to continue to slide down with him being out for the season. Jackson Holiday, just checking back in on him as he continues to play really, really well post call up. He's been on fire. Absolutely hammering the baseball, and his prices have, as we discussed last week, continued to climb back up again. Now, overall, going back 180 days to February, he is still down, but if you shorten this thing up over the last couple of months, if you bought the dip in mid-February, or midsummer rather, you know, his PSA 10 got down to about $600. It's currently at 800 and probably actually higher. The PSA 9 got down to about $300. That's all the way up to 500 already. So nice turnaround on both of those cards. Speaking of baseball and some of the prospects, one of the things that I was curious about is how have the other guys been performing? It's a lot of times what I do. I was curious on what Jackson Holiday's been doing, and then it sent me down the rabbit hole of what about a lot of these other young players? And this is, I already forgot, over the last 180 days as well. So this takes us back to the beginning of February. And actually kind of surprised how well a few of these guys have held up. L.A. De La Cruz has basically been flat, down a few percentage points, and he's having a okay-ish season. He's hurt the fact by the Reds are not that great of a baseball team. He has a ton of steals, homers, batting average is suffering a little bit, but his prices have basically held flat. Jason Dominguez, one I am surprised about, also, you know, down slightly, but not that much. And he's basically been in the minors all year and even hurt for a decent chunk of that. You know, he was coming back from the UCL injury, then he came back and then immediately had I believe it was a core muscle injury that sidelined him. And I think he might either be just back or about to be coming back. And his stuff has stayed basically relatively firm. It hasn't really moved that much. Now, Jackson Chourio, he was super hyped to start the season, started kind of slow. he has also been on a tear lately. His stuff's down a lot, but if you actually shorten the graph up, he's another one kind of like Holiday. If you would have bought the dip in the middle of the season, you're probably actually feeling pretty okay today. James Woods obviously got called up not or fairly recently. He's been okay, but his stuff's down about 22%. Spencer Jones, the once hyped super talent for the Yankees, he had that big, huge run in spring training. Now he's a tricky one. He's down only about 10%, but if I ran this graph from like the second week of March, he'd be down quite a bit. This is one you're seeing his prices, because by going back 180 days, you're seeing his prices prior to his big run up in March. And then he didn't make the team, and he's been just fine in the minors, and his prices have basically completely reset. So this is all going to come down to depending on when you bought. And Jackson Merrill, up about 60%, has also had a really nice season, basically right from the get. Just very quiet, very solid, having a very, very nice season overall as well. So the young crop of MLB talent actually performing fairly okay in regards to pricing. Last but not least, we're going to go ahead and dive into some NBA. I've had some questions regarding, hey, what are Victor's prices doing? This is going over the last 90 days, so this takes us back to May. If you blow this back much further, you get a lot of market noise from when Prism first released, so 90 days seems to be pretty good, and it's basically, after his season was already over, and we're kind of in the middle of the NBA playoffs in mid-May. Basically no movement. His PSA 10 has stayed flat at about $1,000, kind of like a Stroud Silver almost. And his PSA 9 sitting at about 500, up slightly. Now, once again, I am recording this prior to the gold medal game. So if Victor comes out and does some wild and crazy nonsense in the Olympics and leads them to a gold, could he see a little run in sales? Possibly. Typically, the market doesn't work quite that way anymore. An interesting little debate. Maybe this will make a good poll question. If I told you I'm going to give you a Victor Silver PSA 10 or Stroud Silver PSA 10, and you have to hold it for, let's say, 5 years before you could do anything with it, and then at the end of 5 years, you get to cash it in. It's basically, I'm giving you a poker chip. One's a Victor Silver PSA 10, one is a Stroud Silver PSA 10. And I say, I'm going to give you get to pick one, and in 5 years, you get to turn it back into me, and I will buy it back from you at fair market value. Which one are you taking? The Victor or the Stroud? Because it's kind of an interesting conversation since they're both basically the same price point. For me, I would probably lean the Victor. I just think he has more upside versus Stroud. Victor, I think, has a better chance to be the face of the league than Stroud does. And then it's also just not football. So you're decreasing your injury chances of having to hold. Now, if you were telling me I need to sell it in by Christmas, I might have a little bit of a different answer there. I might be more willing to take the dice roll on Stroud. But if he starts hot and has a really good season, that maybe you could cash it in for more. That is not typically the case. We know how the NFL goes. But just an interesting talking point there. I'd be curious for your thoughts on that one. Feel free to fire away in the comments down below. Last but not least, and then we'll do the Zion giveaway, I wanted to look at Victor's autos, his 2022 Bowman Chrome Prospect Auto. Probably if I was going to chase a big Victor auto card, it would probably be this one if I was in the market for such a thing. Pop count on this is pretty low. PSA 10's going for about 4K. That's actually down slightly. This was upwards of, I think, close to 5K at one point in time. Yeah, over 5K. But a PSA 10 going for about 4K. Good luck finding one for that price. Pop 235 on that, and then a PSA 9 has a population of just 54. Those going for about 2.7, and then the raw, as always, selling for slightly more than the PSA 9 at 2.8. This would probably be the card I would go after for a Victor auto. The thing that I am fascinated to watch is, what does this card sell for versus his Topps Chrome sell for? Does the unlicensed Topps Chrome beat out the Bowman U, Bowman First Metropolitan 92 jersey one. I think that's going to be fascinating to keep an eye on. And does the fact that that card exists hurt the value of this one? Not necessarily because this card did anything wrong, but just from the fact that there is now another option. Whereas before, I mean, there was like Bowman University stuff and some insert sets and things like that. But from like a true blue kind of flagship style, air quote, rookie card, don't kill me, Victor. This was kind of the best option. And now we're going to have this unlicensed Topps Chrome thing floating around out there. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how those two cards stack up against each other. Say what you will about Topps Chrome. At least the teaser image that we've seen, the Victor card actually looks good. The auto. So I think that one actually has some chance to it to potentially pop off and hold for a while. That is all I got for the main portion of the weekly sports card market update. You're going to go ahead and hang on. I'm going to pull up the randomizer and we are going to do the giveaway for the Zion case. So if you're not tuning around for that, peace out, everybody. Have a fantastic week. Not sure what we got lined up for content this week. I am interviewing someone from a grading company. At least it's lined up on Monday. So that interview will drop sometime this week. And then the tail end of the week will be a bunch of Fanatics Fest content. And then I also think I got a Marvel box or two coming in the mail to open up as well. So if you're not hanging on for the Zion giveaway, curious for your thoughts and comments as always down below. Peace. If you're hanging around, let's go ahead and pull up the randomizer. All right, we have our random comment picker pulled up here. I have the link copied, so we're going to go ahead and paste that in. We are going to hit fetch. We don't want anything goes. We want keyword filter. Our keyword was hashtag Zion. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit continue. It's going to pull the random comment. If you are the winner, I'm going to go back to the original video and reply to your comment, letting you know that you won. And also for you to reply back with how you are going to reach out with me so I could get your address. The three main options are Twitter, Instagram, or email. All three of those can be found in the description of the video. So you could follow me on Twitter and then ping me. Follow me on Instagram, send me a DM, or shoot me an email. But when you see me reply to your comment, reply back letting me know how you're going to reach out to me and what handle it's going to be coming from. That way, some rando doesn't DM me and be like, hey, I saw I won blah, blah, blah. Cool, send me the Zion bag. It's not what we want to do. So once again, this was not sponsored by anything at all. I just grabbed a couple of these. Flipping Steve grabbed some too. And we've just been kind of randomly giving them away. So let's go ahead and click continue and see who our winner is. 113 comments use the hashtag, and our winner is NDSK1M31. Can we get a Wemby update? Hashtag Zion. You are the winner. I'm going to go reply back to this comment on the video, which is funny. This is one of we just talked about. The comment section has been asking me for Wemby updates, and lo and behold, here is one of the people that were asking about the Wemby update. So I'm going to go back, reply to that. Congratulations to you. And then you'll need to reach out to me. Let me know in the comment section how you are going to reach out to me so I know where it is coming from. And we'll get that shipped out to you. That's all I got. Catch you boys and girls on the next one. Peace.